In Canada, most businesses are very small. The size of a business is a key determinant for the kind of business advice that they need, and the resources they have to implement that advice. It's clear to us that our approach must be tailored to our clients' needs. In 2020, the Small Business Analysts Society of Canada asked us to develop training that is actually relevant for small businesses in Canada. Our first priority was to develop materials that help students understand the importance of small business. According to Statistics Canada, small and medium-sized enterprises play an essential role in employing Canadians across the country. On the provincial level, these small and medium-sized enterprises account for 94% of private sector employment in Newfoundland and 93.9% in PEI. This percentage is lowest in Ontario and Quebec at 88.3% and 87.4% respectively. Total private sector employment in Ontario and Quebec amounts to 7,426,100 jobs, which represents more than 60% of all Canadian private sector employment. The problem with this analysis is that only about 16% of private sector employment can be tied to medium-sized business. Fully 75% of private sector employment is provided by small business alone. It's clear that Statistics Canada takes a somewhat disparaging view of what they call micro-businesses. Collectively, the self-employed and these so-called micro-businesses account for about 30% of private sector employment. In case you missed it, these micro-businesses employ twice the number of workers as Statistics Canada's much-loved medium-sized business category. BC Stats has a much better and clearer picture of the real economy in Canada. Their analysis is based on the same data, they just interpret it more effectively. BC Stats doesn't even have a category for medium-sized business. Businesses with fewer than 50 staff are considered small. Those with 50 or more are just considered large.
So in this slide, I've broken down Canadian businesses for 2018 from data provided by Statistics Canada. But I had to interpolate a little using BC Stats aggregations for the number of employees by firm. In particular, I used BC Stats' more detailed breakdowns of businesses with between 1 and 49 employees. Essentially, I distributed the larger number of categories developed in BC, assuming that the distribution between these categories should remain relatively constant across Canada. For many statistical agencies, and often for academics, self-employment is considered something less than employment. From our perspective, though, self-employment is very common, representing 22% of private sector employment in 2018, and it should be taken seriously. Thankfully, BC Stats places more importance on the self-employed than most other agencies. Note that, according to BC Stats analysis pictured here, with their more realistic view of large businesses, small firms, those with fewer than 50 employees, account for more than half of private sector employment. In this slide, we look at the self-employed as one category of employer. Looked at this way, the self-employed, i.e. working without staff, are the largest single employer category. It's just that they only employ themselves. In another exercise, we'll look at the business of public accounting. There we'll see that CPAs in practice generally seem to earn significantly more if they don't have staff.
In Canada, CPAs have a monopoly on providing audit services. The largest firms exploit their monopoly and earn the bulk of their revenue from a combination of audit and consulting services. Neither audit nor consulting services have much relevance to the majority of small businesses. This monopoly allows the largest firms to earn extraordinary profits on those services. That translates to significantly higher charge-out rates than can be billed by smaller firms. 54% of industry revenue by smaller firms billed at lower rates means many more hours. And many more people. So there are many more people, serving many more businesses in the small firm cohort. SBA Canada seeks to collaborate with our universities and colleges to develop and deliver a more relevant curriculum and continuing professional development that actually meets the real needs of Canada's small businesses and the professionals that serve them.